Yeah, thank you. Good morning, and thank you for the time. As you rightly said, the results are really a wake-up call for us, and that's why we are launching our new plan called Re-Nissan. This new plan is anchored on three key pillars. First is to reduce our cost structure, and we have initiatives in place for both fixed cost and variable costs. So you alluded a bit on what we have announced today in terms of fixed costs, but we have a very strong initiative on variable costs as well. We will also be redefining our market and product strategy, having a tailored approach for each of the regions in which we operate, and also having a more focused approach into which products we develop by ourselves and which products we develop with partners. That brings me to the third pillar of the strategy, which is relying and reinforcing on partnerships. Taking advantage of our alliance partners, Renault, Mitsubishi, and also now Honda, we will keep developing initiatives that will help us course through these difficulties we are going through today.
Ivan, there's so much to discuss, but let me start with the pain point around trade tariffs. We saw progress yesterday between the US and China, yet if we look at your numbers today, still a lot of tariff news cropping up, from the lack of guidance to the impact, gross impact on tariffs before mitigation of about 450 billion yen, an operating profit drag 650 billion yen. Just how destructive have the tariffs been so far?
Well, it's a very complicated situation, both for what the tariffs represent. As you can easily imagine, is a big burden for us as automakers. But not only the burden itself, the other problem is the lack of stability. It's very difficult for us to plan, to make decisions with the current volatile environment. So what we're hoping for is to get better conditions in terms of the tariffs themselves. But also, we are hoping that the governments can come into some sort of agreement soon that gives us some clarity on what is to come, so that we can plan and make decisions accordingly.
Let me bring you to Japan then, because at one point it seemed like Japan would be at the front of the queue when it came to trade discussions. Now others have managed to hurdle past Japan, but there is certainly this 25% tariff for autos still to negotiate from here. Is the UK somewhat of a model, reducing down to 10%? Would that be workable if the Japanese Prime Minister could extract that concession?
Well, we have looked at different sensitivities, and of course, the lower it gets, the better possibilities we have. But within the strategy that we're laying down, you alluded to it at the beginning, the way we're looking at the footprint, we're trying to keep flexibility because we don't know what may happen in the future also. So for the moment, we have this situation with the US, but it might get also different in the future with other regions. So within this approach of resizing our manufacturing footprint, we're taking a very strategic approach, considering the proper flexibility, so that we can make front to any additional changes in the future.
In the meantime, Ivan, as we look at still trade deals to be inked with Japan, but also Europe as well as a trading bloc, what type of tariff mitigation strategies are still required from here?
Well, what we're doing internally is we're working very diligently with our markets in the US, with our responsibles for the market in the US, focusing, of course, in the products that are locally built. We are providing as much support as we can in order to readjust some of the production and working with suppliers also to accelerate the supply of parts that help us make better costs, landed costs in the US. So this is what we're working on and focusing on managing internally within Nissan.
So far, we've seen today no forecast given from your company. Others in the auto space are providing guidance. What do you need to see? What do you need to witness to have clarity around some numbers that you can issue to the market?
Well, for the moment, it's very difficult to give any hard guidance. What we announced today without tariff is that Nissan should be in a position to be break-even in FY25. As I said, without tariff. For Q1, the visibility we have is that we will be having a hit of around 450 billion yen for the full year in terms of tariffs. And we are trying to minimize as much as possible within the measures possible internally to try and provide better guidance in the coming months. But for the moment, the situation is very fluid and very unstable. So it's not easy for us to provide a full year guidance.
Ivan, let me drill down into some of those cost-cutting initiatives that you've just mentioned to me, the slashing of 20,000 jobs across the globe. We already knew about 9,000 of those roles, but another 11,000 effectively today. The shrinking of plants 17 to 10. How much of this is directly trade-related versus the transition we've already been seeing in the industry from traditional combustion to EVs and also hybrid, as well as that competition from China?
Yeah, thank you. These measures that we're taking are really not related to tariffs or other aspects. This is really self-improvement measures that we needed because the situation in which our company is. If you take a step back, this company was prepared or was started to be prepared to become an 8 million car manufacturer. If you take a step back to 2015 or 2016, there were decisions made back then that developed a footprint of manufacturing and a footprint of human resources that was expected to grow the company to around 8 million cars. Now, unfortunately, we know the volume situation in which we are is much harsher and less than half of that. So we are taking the appropriate measures to resize the company so that we can have a sustainable future moving forward.
I can see you're trying to press the accelerator on bringing new cars to market as well. That development lead time you're trying to cut to 37 months on the first vehicle and then subsequent family vehicles to 30 months. But I gather from what the industry numbers look like, the Chinese can produce cars at a much quicker pace than that, still about half the lead time. Do you still need to accelerate from here, and what would it take around digital platforms?
Right, thank you. We are, of course, accelerating, but not only on digital platforms, we're looking at our overall process. And today we were announcing the 3 first cars that will come out of this 30-month initiative that we have put in place. The first one will be the all-new Skyline. We're also going to, the second one running in this new process is a global C SUV. And the third one is an Infinity SUV that will be bound for the United States. So we're taking advantage of this to accelerate our time to market and close the gaps that we have in different markets, different segments.
I want to ask you about some of the other self-help measures, because there was a conversation in the backdrop touted earlier this year and into last year around Honda and whether there could be a merger taking place there. So far, we've heard today from the Honda CEO saying, look, it's a blank slate on talks since that announcement in mid-February, not expecting any progress. Do you need to rethink this? Do you need to have a deeper cooperation, a merger with Honda to survive what are extreme situations now in this landscape?
Well, we are working actively, not only with Honda, but with other partners on projects that we included in our announcement today. So we are actively working with Mitsubishi Motors, with Renault, and also, of course, with Honda. Particularly with Honda, we have projects ongoing on the area of vehicle intelligence and electrification. And then we're also running in parallel a strategic review process, which is independent of this project, partnership projects. And in this strategic review process that we're running, we're discussing and evaluating different partners, looking at what our options are, both on the OEM space, but not only, and finding the best candidates that can add value to Nissan so that we can choose a partner for the future. The main areas in which we have interest, you can imagine easily, are finding synergies in the areas where we have a big business base, namely Japan, the US, and also seeing how we can collaborate for future automotive technologies moving forward.
Ivan, you used the word partnership there and collaboration, but that's not a merger. Is a merger conversation still possible?
We're open, as we said, on the strategic review, we're open to anything that can add value to Nissan. So I have a very open view on these things. It could be either projects, it could be either capital discussion. There's many ways that we can imagine partnership going forward.
Right. Ivan, just very quickly, I want to ask you about the competition coming out of China and what that means for investment decisions. Well, we just spoke about speeding up new products to market, but you did have an investment project around autonomous with Wave. We're now seeing the Chinese effectively give away some of this autonomous driving technology. How much of a priority is autonomous driving to you at this stage? And how would you say the competition is at this point in 2025 out of China?
Well, for me, the future of a car is the intelligent car. And when you look at the intelligent car, there are several domains that you have to be present on. One is, as you mentioned, the autonomous drive area. And this area is an area in which Nissan has significant advantages. And we've been present in this area for quite a while. We have several partners which we are working with both in China and outside of China. We have multiple cars on the road with our ProPilot 1 and ProPilot 2 technologies, and we are very much advanced in the next era of autonomous technology. So we will keep investing actively in this domain.